Yep. There we go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Feist Pro Football Handicapping Show here at DeMarco's Pizzeria and Wine Bar. My name is Tommy Canale. I'm the host and moderator of the show. We are here on this beautiful patio on a great Vegas afternoon in the fall at 9785 West Charleston Boulevard, where the wine flows and the good times roll, and where we have all sharps and no squares, an audience that's the smartest from Yale to jail. The gentleman that's sitting next to me needs no introduction. Jim, how are we this week?
I'm doing well. I didn't have a great week, but I'm doing well.
Okay, you're feeling better.
I'm feeling better.
All right, well, let's introduce our panel. Next to him, we have a return that's been with us a long time. He's a friend of the show from the Long Shots podcast, writes a weekly golf column, provides NFL and college football insight. Wes Reynolds, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back with you. And you mentioned Long Shots. The OG Long Shot, right here next to me, reunited, and it feels so good. Cue the Peaches and Herb. I have to be Peaches though.
And that would be Brady, Kannon, who captained a four-person team to win the Hilton's NFL Super Contest and set the record for the highest winning percentage in the contest history at the time is 72.5%. One of the best golf handicappers in the country. Brady, Kannon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate Al Scalliot and the hospitality here at Don DeMarco. It's great to be with you guys.
All right, everybody, before we get going, I need everybody's attention. I need your help. On these tents, whatever you call them on the table tents, you're going to see a QR code. Dom's is in the finale to win the Neon Best Pizza. I need you to scan that code. I need you to vote. It's between Dom DeMarco's and Pizza Rock. So I need everybody to get out your phones, scan that code, and vote. Dom's has to win this contest.
That's a heavyweight fight.
It is a heavyweight fight. It's a heavyweight fight, and we're going to make sure that everybody votes. You're going to vote. We get done. We'll get Wes to vote, and Brady. I'm going to vote. I already voted. We got to have everybody to vote to make sure Al Scalliot, the proprietor here that puts this all on, has some of the best pizza in the country. Everybody, so give it up for Albert Scalliot. It's on the table. First, show him where it's at. He's going to take it around, make sure everybody votes. All right, we had a bunch of trades going on in the NFL, and we'll talk to them as we go. Thursday's game, we have the Raiders who traded their wide receiver, Jacoby Myers, to Jacksonville for 2 draft picks. Vegas is going to go to Denver. The Broncos have just beaten statistically the best offense and defense in back-to-back weeks. Broncos opened up when I saw it was 10.5 favorite. Now it's 9.5. Over under 42.5. Brady, I want to start with you. What does this trade mean for the Raiders? Are we just cashing it in?
Yeah, I don't think it means a whole lot, except if you're playing prop markets, you might look at Trey Tucker, who should have a greater role. We know Brock Bowers takes up the lion's share of the activity there for the Raiders as far as pass receptions on offense, but Trey Tucker may play a larger role. This is a really tough spot. I made the number 10. We saw some initial action come in on the Las Vegas Raiders. I saw at a Sharp store earlier today, it was down from 9.5 to 9. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a little bit lower. The Raiders have owned the Broncos. That's one positive thing we can say about the Raiders. They have owned the Broncos for a while now. I think before last year, I think the Broncos finally beat them last year. Prior to that, it was like 8-0. So I want to say it's in the neighborhood of 9-1 or something like that as far as the Raiders beating the Broncos straight up. But they're in a real tough situation this week where they had to go to overtime. I love that Pete Carroll went for 2. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. They covered the number. Good teams cover, great teams cover, whatever that is. But I was hoping that they got the win. But again, I like that they went for 2. The tough part is they played a long overtime period, almost went the entire time. And now they're on a short week to boot. So, and going to elevation. Tough situation. Like I say, I made it 10. It's in the neighborhood of 9. I typically don't bet Thursday night games. I probably will be off of this one as well.
Wes, let me ask you on this game if you're on either side, but more importantly, are the Broncos not getting the due respect they deserve?
I don't know about that. I think that they've been a little bit fortunate, and you did mention they beat the best defense. They were probably fortunate to beat Houston last week once Stroud went out of the game. Not that Stroud has been really that great this year, but that's still a drop to Davis Mills. And Houston, I think, went like 3 of 17 on third down. you're not going to beat anybody. Denver's defense is legit, and so is Houston's, by the way. But Denver just kind of got a little bit fortunate. And it's not that I think that they're bad, but I think that there's a self spot coming. I don't know if it's this week, though, for what Brady said. I don't want to play a team on a short week off an overtime loss. They've got some quarterback issues. They wrote Juno Smith off, and he didn't write back the first time, and he had a good second act in Seattle. But I don't know if the third chapter is really working out here in Vegas. Because there's people calling for Kenny Pickett or Aiden O'Connell or Jim Plunkett or whoever they have for the silver and black.
Kenny Stabler.
Kenny Stabler, Vince Evans, you name it. But I want to go against Denver. At some point, I think there's a spot to do that. I don't know if it's Thursday night.
Jim, are you on this game?
I didn't know some of those guys were good.
Oh, yeah. They're in the archives.
Yeah.
Definitely in the archives. There's been occasions where Bo Nix plays with his food. He doesn't always come to play in the first part of the game, and in the fourth quarter, he comes up with a lot of good action and comes back and wins the games. You can't really trust the Raiders, but the division game, if you can get 10, I don't mind that.
Let's get into Sunday. Wes, I want to go with you with the Jets trading their cornerback Sauce Gardner to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver Adonai Mitchell. What's your thoughts on the trade, first off?
Well, it's a lot to give up. Obviously, you give up 2 first-round picks for anybody. But what really we evaluate Sauce in the fact that the Colts need help at corner. They need help in the secondary. They need help with the pass rush as well. But they're going for it right now. I'll give Chris Ballard credit because nobody values draft capital more than Chris Ballard. He's always trying to get picks, and they've been kind of hit or miss as first-round picks over the years. So Sauce, I think, fills a need. But really what this trade tells me, it's kind of like the old radio guy, Paul Harvey, where he goes, and now for the rest of the story. The rest of the story is that they committed to Daniel Jones. Like, Indiana Jones is their guy for better or worse, because you're not trading that draft capital if you're in the market for a quarterback, or not in the market for a quarterback. So, they're going for it. And I think Indy last week, by the way, that was the spot to go against, and you could kind of see it coming a little bit. They had so much prosperity. They were 7-1. People were talking Jonathan Taylor for the MVP. People were dressing like Carly Ursay with the headset on the sideline for Halloween and all that stuff. So everything was going right for the Colts. And Pittsburgh's always been a house of horrors, and you could tell because they had 6 turnovers, yet they still only lost by 7, which maybe says something about Pittsburgh down the line. But Sauce is still listed as questionable. He just got to Indianapolis, I believe, late last night, early this morning, because checking the Instagram, he posted the photo of his locker, number 1. He's going to be wearing for the Colts. So we'll see if he's going to make that trip to Berlin and start, because it looks like Ward is still going to be out with the concussion for another week.
Are you on this game, by the way, with Atlanta and Indy and Berlin? I mean, it was 5.5. It's up to 6.5. Colts are favored, 48.5 total.
I haven't bet it yet. I'm looking. If 7 popped, I'd be maybe interested in Atlanta. I was on them last week against New England. They got kind of the cover late in the back door. Actually had a chance to win the game there at the end, but we'll see if the pass rush gets home. That concerned me about the Colts last week. I think the Steelers really beat them up front, so that offensive line's got to play better. The number may be a little bit inflated, but as of now, nothing for me.
Brady, are you on this game?
I am not, but I might get there because I made it 4.5 in favor of the Colts.
Oh.
Yeah. And the fact that it opened 6 kind of shocked me because it feels like I would have gone 6 had there been home field advantage, but there's not. I mean, we're in Berlin, so I'm not sure where people come up with 6. I mean, the Patriots were 5.5 and won by 1. So I don't know. I found that a little bit confusing. The Falcons are just so hard to get a finger on their pulse because one week they beat the Buffalo Bills, beat the snot out of them, and the other week they get shut out by the Panthers. I mean, they're really hard
They
team
couldn't
to
run the
figure
ball
out.
at all against New England last week, which really surprised me.
Good run defense for New England, but even against a team that they're supposed to run the ball down their throat, they don't do it, and they the Miami Dolphins, for instance. So the Falcons for me are really hard to figure out. They have a ton of talent, but it doesn't always play out on the field. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We had a discussion on a show I do with a couple of friends that you guys all know, James Salinas and Mike Pritchard, about Raheem Morris. And I just don't think he's that great of a coach. I don't know if he's a good coordinator. I think he's okay. some guys just can't be the CEO, and I think he's starting to prove that that's the case because he's got a ton of talent, and it doesn't show up every week.
You're 100% right. It's not always easy to step up from a coordinator's job to be the head coach. It's just like the CEO of a company. It's a different position. But the Colts, I mean, everybody's talking about them as the best team in football, the best offense for sure. And then they go to Pittsburgh, who had no defense for weeks, and all of a sudden they got shut down. So a lot of people really got smashed by that.
Oh yeah.
And now what happens? Next they come back in Germany. They're in Germany. I think it's the first game in Germany ever.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I did see that.
I think I'll go back to what Wes said. If I see a 7, I'm definitely going to take the dog.
Brady, I want to go to you, and then Jim, I want to get your thoughts on this game as well. On the other side of that trade, we talked about the Jets. Cleveland's going to go into New York. When I first looked early, the Jets were favored by 1.5, and now the Browns are favored by 2.5, 37.5 total. Where do you see this game?
They got rid of a couple. They got rid of a couple players on the Jets.
Right.
I think that's why the line swung. But I mean, you can't pay me enough to go to this game. I want to go to this game. I mean,
Will you watch it on TV?
No, I'll bet it under, but I won't watch it.
Right.
I think the line movement is pretty spot on because I think Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner are probably worth about 2 points. I think they're worth about a point apiece. I mean, they're a couple of the best players defensively in the league. And there's not a lot of defensive players that are worth anything. Are some defensive players worth 2 points? I don't know. That's a big number. But I would say the two of them together are probably worth 2 points. So I made the Browns 1. I don't have a problem with 2. Will I be betting the game? See, the Browns are coming off the bye, which I think is a good thing for them. And the Jets could possibly let down after getting their first win of the season last week in kind of miraculous fashion. I think you also have the situation where some of these players on the Jets just got an alert. Like, hey, guys, your job is not secure. We just got rid of Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. So if you don't pick it up, you're on the waiver wire too. And sometimes that, triggers a great performance out of teams. So there's a lot of different angles I can go with on this one. The number seems right. It's at this point for me, it's a pass.
Brady, I want to stay with you, and then Weston coming to you on the same game. Arizona at Seattle. This line changed drastically. But Brady, my question is, you almost look like you looked at my notes. When the Saints traded Shaheed to the Seahawks, how many points was that worth?
When the Saints trade, that's a good question.
Is he 3? Is he 4? Is he 2?
No. I would say 2 at the most.
2 at the most?
Yeah. But you factor in the fact that he reunites with Kubiak as the coordinator, and I think that's probably worth a half point. Maybe it's worth a full point. I think that familiarity is really good, and I certainly think that's part of the reason why they made the trade, because Kubiak had been the coordinator at New Orleans. He knows this kid really well. Hey, let's bring him in over here. I think he really adds a lot. Smith and Jigba, we know, is an absolute weapon. Now you've got a guy that can stretch the field. They've got some guys that they can throw the ball. Even Kenneth Walker can catch the ball underneath. So they're really building a full roster, defensively, offensively. And if Darnold keeps doing what he's doing, they're a force to be reckoned with.
Wes, what's your thoughts on this game? Last time I looked, it was 6.5. Is it still 6.5?
It is, and it was actually 7.
It was
before the Monday night game, because everybody's going to love Seattle based on what they saw on Sunday Night Football. Like, they're a buy team right now. A lot of people are buying Seattle stock, and for what Brady mentioned in terms of the receivers, not only JSN, but now Shaheed, they can stretch the field. They're not really great at running the ball. They're great at stopping the run. Like, they're a really physical defense up front. Washington found that out, and then the week before, Seattle has been really good against the run. But I was wanting to maybe take Arizona, and then Arizona looked really good on Monday night. And honestly, I think that they've been better with Jacoby Brissett than they've been with Kyler Murray. We've seen Brissett before be a short-term starter in the league, and he's not a guy that necessarily goes out and wins games for you, but he doesn't lose them for you. Like, he doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't make mistakes. He's a veteran, steady hand. But Arizona got a little support because the 7's disappeared, and it doesn't look like Kyler is going to be going again.
I want to add this, too. This is another point that I had forgotten about. The Arizona Cardinals came off a bye. Okay, they had lost 5 in a row, and I like to bet on a team coming out of the bye when they go in struggling, and that's exactly what Arizona did. They came out of their bye. They won the game outright as a short dog. They knew that they had a short week, or they knew that they had a division game coming up while they were on that bye as well. We saw what a game plan was put together by their defensive coordinator, how well it was done to shut down that Dallas offense, right? I also believe that part of that bye week was spent time focusing on Seattle. So there's another little angle I think you could make a case for Arizona being the side in this game. Again, we can go back and forth a few different ways here, but I like that they just had their bye because I bet they spent some time on the Seattle game as well.
What do you think?
I would agree with what both of these gentlemen said. Take the lumber. I like it's a division dog. Brissett is, in my opinion, a better, more consistent quarterback than Murray, and that's of course why they gave him the job. And they say he's not being benched, but I think it's a soft benching. I think Arizona is definitely a live dog here. Even though Seattle is very explosive, and the addition of Shaheed is going to help them. It might help them a lot right away. I don't know, but I would take the dog in this spot.
Do you think this puts Seattle in contention to make a deep run now?
Of course it does. I mean, they could win this division, definitely. I mean, the Rams and the 49ers are vulnerable. I mean, they're not everybody. They're not. There's no team that can't be beat. There's no real A team that is out there that you just can't. Oh God, I have to play that team. There's no team like that.
Here's another game you probably won't go to, Jim, but I want to get your opinion on it. That's New Orleans at Carolina. Panthers are favored. It was 3.5 last time I looked. It's up to 5.5. Total at 39.5. Do you like either side on this?
Well, I like Carolina. They can run the ball. When Young's a quarterback, they can even run it better because it opens up the game a little bit. New Orleans Saints, I think they're just looking forward to next year and the year after. But making the Panthers a favorite, it's so hard for a team to be an underdog all the time and then turn them into a favorite because most of the time they don't do very well in that spot. Yes, I like the Panthers. I just can't lay points like this with them.
Wesley.
Well, Jim led me right into it there. When you get a team that's an underdog all the time, and now they're a favorite, and they're actually a couple places here in town. I think at Stations and at South Point, they're now 6.
Ooh.
That's a big jump for a team. I know they beat Green Bay, and that's the NFL. But sometimes a team is going to have a clunker, and I think Green Bay did last week. And Carolina, I think, really plays hard. I will give Dave Canale and those guys credit. They play hard every week, but Bryce Young, he's still like, is he quite there? Is he, where is he? I still don't think that he's gone where they need him to go. He's not the drag maybe that he was last year. Like he's making incremental improvements, but he's like giving you hops and they need jumps. I think in Carolina to go for the next level. New Orleans last week got trounced by the Rams. I didn't think Tyler Shuck was that bad. He didn't turn it over until late when the game was out of hand. Like he was okay, but New Orleans doesn't have a lot of talent. They've obviously made a trade. And, yeah, I think they're thinking about next year. But from a week-to-week basis, I don't know if I want to lay Carolina at the top of the market. And that's the thing with the NFL. You want to buy a team at the low and sell high. This could be sell high on Carolina. It'd be Saints or pass for me at this number.
How about the total? You look at the total in the game with these two. I mean, Shuck on the other side, we don't know what he can do long term. He's just a kid. And they're just testing him out to see if they have to get a quarterback in the draft. What would you do with the total in this game?
Me? Totals aren't my area of expertise.
Well, either way.
I'd lean under.
Yeah.
Probably it's at 40. There's some 39.5. And, sometimes I think that gives value to the dog, too, when you're seeing a little bit of movement to the under, even though the market is certainly on the favorite in this spot. But this strikes me as maybe another ugly, low-scoring Carolina game like we saw last week, where it's 20-17 or somewhere around there.
Before we get into the next game, you got a question?
Yeah, on the Carolina game. So Young hasn't really had a running game in the past. Now he's kind of got Dowdle as a runner. Do you give any more credit to the team as a whole in terms of number of points on either side because he does have a running game, or is that just on a game-by-game basis and it doesn't matter?
Maybe a little game by game. Carolina, by the way, they do have some injuries on the offensive line, even though they are running the ball. So keep in mind for that. Like when I look at injuries in the NFL, especially, everybody pays attention to skill positions, and I understand that. But the cluster injuries on the offensive line and in the secondary are what really concern me about a team, if that's going to keep me on or off a game. So pay attention to that for Carolina. They've got a couple guys banged up front.
You know, Wes said it about Carolina that they play hard every week. I think the Saints play hard every week too. I think Kellen Moore is doing a good job, and you know, the reason, like Jim said, the reason that they went to Shook, you know, is because they want to see if they still need a quarterback. I don't think New Orleans is really doing anything wrong or doing anything that we didn't expect, and they come out and they put forth effort every week. I made this one 4. And like you said, it's now at 6 in places, and I would have real hesitancy to lay points with the Panthers. But by the way, for the Saints, you guys will like this one. If your quarterbacks are rattled and shook, you're in trouble.
Brady, I want to stay with you. I want to get into Detroit at Washington. The Commanders, Lattimore has a torn ACL. Dan Quinn came out, said he regrets not pulling Jaden Daniels late in that blowout loss before he gets an elbow injury. My question to you is, before we get into the sides and the totals, is Jaden Daniels suited to play in this NFL?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we saw that in his rookie campaign. Now people are catching up to the tape, if you will. And also he's been hampered by injury. Now probably won't see him again this year, unfortunately. But I think I love to watch him. That's one of the things that I don't like about the NFL is we don't get to watch Cam Scatterbo. We don't get to watch Malik Neighbors. We don't get to watch Jaden Daniels, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. All these guys that we kind of pay to see are injured, and it happens every year. But no, I think he's the real deal.
I asked the question because last year I said I didn't know how long this kid could last. Is he talented? Yes. But does he have a body to stay in the NFL and take these hits? I don't know if he does. Jim, what do you think?
Probably not. Proof is in the pudding.
Proof is in the pudding.
Well,
yeah.
It's probably not a good idea to have him in at down 38 to 7 minutes to go either. That's certainly not going to lengthen your career.
Well, Detroit's going to go into Washington. The Lions are favored by 8.5. The total's at 49.5. Jim, are you on either side?
That's an overreaction. I mean, Mariota has not played that terribly. The Lions, yeah, they got a clunker last week at home against Minnesota and J.J. McCarthy. Although McCarthy, everybody said, oh, great game. He only had 143 yards passing, but it was, the Vikings have a good roster. They played well. They have good players on the team besides the quarterback, developing. He's going to develop. I think it'll be good long term. This is a big number on the road. Washington, I don't think, is giving up. I think Mariota will play well.
All right. Wes?
Yeah, same for me here. Commanders are nothing. There are still, I think this got a little bit of action this morning. There are still some 9s actually here in town, but 8.5s, 8 out there. It's moved not only because of the Daniels injury, but also the fact that, remember, Washington knocked Detroit out of the playoffs, and everybody were like, Lions are a juggernaut, and Washington went in there and handed it to him, I think, pretty easily. So this is the quote-unquote quasi-revenge spot, but I still think that this number's a little bit high. Detroit got a little bit of concern on defense, and they've had some injuries on the offensive line, so it'd be Commanders or pass for me.
Brady, same?
No, I would go with the favorite here. But what I worry about is kind of the storyline here, the playoff revenge, like you talk about, Wes, and Detroit's going to bounce back after a loss. And I just wonder if that's going to be a recreational, wave of action to run to the window on the Lions. However, I mean, I made it 11.5. I mean, this Commanders team is now, this is Miami Dolphins territory. They're done. I mean, you're right, Jim. Mariota hasn't been that bad, but is McLaurin going to play? They've got injuries on the offensive line. They've got injuries. Marshawn Lattimore is done. I mean, they are decimated. They also exceeded expectations by so much last season that it's not surprising to see them come back down to earth here this year. And unfortunately, it's happening in a big way.
They won every close game last
They
year.
did. So now, you guys mentioned there's a lot of 8.5s in the market. Again, it feels like the whole world's going to be on a teaser and take this down to 2.5, but that's probably the play I would make. I don't want the Commanders. This team is they got set back a lot with the loss of their quarterback and everything else that they've had injury-wise this year.
They're not very, very good. Their offensive line, you mentioned that. Last week we saw some offensive lines that I didn't expect to decline the way they did. The Lions' offensive line was terrible. Goff had no time. Even the Chiefs' offensive line was terrible. What what's going on with these offensive lines? How do you rate these offensive lines in the league right now? Who's good? Who's not?
I think you're on a week-to-week basis with the injuries.
Yeah,
Like usually,
injuries are a big deal.
usually Philadelphia is up there because they have some depth. Like they're one of the better ones. I think Green Bay, and they didn't look that good last week. But then I saw Green Bay the week before against Pittsburgh really dominate those guys. Like T.J. Watt, you didn't hear from him at all. Like he couldn't get to the passer. So it is week to week. But I think usually like Philly, Green Bay, they're kind of rated near the top on mainly a week.
Speaking of Green Bay, they've had 3 games. They tied Dallas. They lost to 2 other teams they really shouldn't have lost to. The Panthers and one other, and I can't remember.
Browns.
The Browns. I mean, people don't lose to the Panthers and the Browns. I mean, that's just – but what is – I mean, everybody says, well, this is one of the best teams. This team going to the Super Bowl. But you lose games like that.
I agree with you, Jim. I don't. I mean, we were on the Panthers last week. I think Green Bay is a little bit, elevated higher than they should be. Like they lost to the Browns and the Panthers. They tied Dallas. And like you also said earlier, there's no real dominant teams.
Right.
I mean, the Eagles, the Packers, they're playing this week. The Lions, the Bills, the Chiefs. You mentioned the NFC West. The Rams look pretty darn good.
They do.
Speaking, since you guys brought up the Packers, let's jump into that Monday night game with Philadelphia going to Green Bay. Packers tight end Tucker Kraft's going to miss the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. Green Bay's a 2.5-point favorite. Total's 44.5. Jim, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, the general manager for Eagles made some moves during the trade thing, and he's pretty smart at what he does, and that team is solid. This is the championship team. Somebody's got to knock them off. I don't think the Packers are good enough to knock them off. I really don't. I think the Eagles are very, very dangerous, and nobody gives Jalen Hurts any credit.
So you like the Eagles to take the points?
I have to until somebody beats this team, and the team that's we just talked about it. The team that's lost and tied to the teams that they did lose to and tied. Making them a favorite over Super Bowl champs after what they just did last week. I know that's a reaction and maybe it's an overreaction, but the Eagles are pretty damn good.
What's your thoughts, Wes?
Yeah, this is a recency bias buy low, I think, on the Packers for me. I think Jim makes a very good case for Philly. And watch the injury report, too, because Saquon did pop as questionable on that injury report, as did A.J. Brown, who they did not trade Howie Roseman. People thought maybe they would trade him. He's been a little bit unhappy in his role within this Eagles offense, which is showing improvement. They really struggled to start the season because of what we were talking about with New Orleans. Kellen Moore and most of that offensive staff is now down in New Orleans. So all of a sudden now you got a position coach moving in the offensive coordinator, and and the operation was just down. They couldn't really run the ball early, and now Saquon's gotten going over the last few weeks. But this would be a buy low on the money line at home for Green Bay for me. I still think they're just an up and down team. They beat good teams and they lose to bad teams, and they've played up and down to their competition. And I think maybe playing up this week after that poor performance.
I was just going to say, Brady is just one of these teams that's just going to play to the level of their competition all year.
It feels like that for sure. I mean, I made the number 2.5. There's no edge there from a line standpoint. That's exactly what it is at 2.5. And I kind of agree with Wes that people want to react to the Packers off of what they saw last week. But one of the reasons I feel the Packers lost last week is because they were focused on this game. So. If that's the case, then they should be ready to win this one.
Jim, I want to come back to you. We talked about offensive lines and injuries. And let's talk about Pittsburgh coming into the Chargers. Chargers offensive tackle Joe Alt is going to undergo season-ending ankle surgery. So there's somebody else they're going to lose. But they are favored by 3. Total's 45.5. Is this enough to stay away from this game?
I don't think it's enough to stay away from the game, but it's a hell of analysis that you have here because the offensive line is very important. Pittsburgh, until they ran into the Colts last week, their defense looked like crap. And then all of a sudden they shut down the highest scoring team in the league. Now they go out here. Herbert has looked great, but he hasn't had any protection. He's getting hit a lot. And now they lose the offensive lineman who, when he was there, they played a lot better. Now he's not there anymore. And they lost Slater before the season even started. I mean, when I look at this, like I said, I've got to say, if Pittsburgh can play like they did last week, and I don't know because up to that point they didn't, I got to take the 3 points.
Wes, is this a teaser game?
Probably, if you like the Steelers, for sure. And the Chargers are one of those teams, like I talked about how a lot of people are buying Seattle. The Chargers, for me right now, in their current form, are a sell team. And, maybe it's my own eyes, and the eye test going over there and watching them against the Colts a couple weeks ago in SoFi. For what Jim mentioned, Justin Herbert is a thoroughbred, but, man, he doesn't have much in front of him. And especially now with Joe Wald out, because I felt when he came back for that one game before he got hurt again against Tennessee, it's like, okay, this is how they're supposed to look because they dominated Minnesota on that Thursday night. But this offensive line, not only Alt, but Slater, Becton, if he's going to go, they've had guys basically on the practice squad playing in a couple of those offensive line positions. And the Steeler defensive line still has some talent. So it would be Steelers or pass, but I think the Chargers are kind of one of those teams with a good record right now that might be in trouble.
Brady, is the injuries to this offensive line worth a point?
Maybe 2. I made it. I mean, the one thing you have to factor in here is Slater's been out the entire season. So, you can't all of a sudden grade it with him, as a part of the equation because he hasn't been there all year. But we saw Alt come back for a week and a game and a half or 2 games, and he made a huge difference. They won a game that we didn't expect him to win. I can't remember which one it was, but I made this number 1. I was really surprised to see the Chargers as a 3-point favorite. They don't have a running back. They don't have a tackle at either spot. You said it, guys. They're playing 3rd and 4th stringers off the practice squad.
Banged up as well.
Yeah, no. And it's hard for me to get behind the Steelers after what they did last week, and we know they have holes on defense, but there's no way I could lay it here with the Chargers. Not 3.
Steelers, by the way, kind of the defense, they're not the dominant defense. They have to live off turnovers, which they did against Indianapolis. When they can turn you over, then they're frustrating to bet against. But when they can't turn you over, you can move the ball on them pretty easily.
And Highsmith and Watt, these guys are older, getting longer in the tooth, not as dominant as they were. But when Slater and Alt aren't on that offensive line, those guys can cook. So it's kind of like what they did to the Colts. Those guys were able to get home last week and force turnovers. They might be able to do it again against a banged-up offensive line.
Jim, last time I looked, C.J. Stroud was still in concussion protocol. I don't know if he's out or not. Jacksonville's coming into Houston. Texans were at 3-point favorites, down to 1.5. Totals at 37.5. It's dropped from 41.5. Are you going to play something on this?
Well, yeah, I think I will. The Texans they have a great defense. Their offense, I think the backup quarterback is pretty good for them. I don't expect Stroud to play, but I don't think it's going to matter much. I think it's another low-scoring game. Lawrence never excites me anyway at quarterback, but they have a kicker. Hello, he can kick field goals from 70 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a comfort level.
Are you kidding? You don't have to move the ball very far to get it in zone.
Urban Meyer wouldn't be kicking that guy in the leg like he did the previous game when he was there.
I mean, that's a dangerous situation. I think the under, and I'd probably, what'd you say the line was now?
1.5.
Well, okay. I'd probably lean to the dog, but I would take the under definitely.
Houston, by the way, is the underdog right now because C.J.
Okay.
Stroud just got ruled out.
Oh, you got ruled out.
So
There you
it will
go.
be Davis Mills, so we're starting to see some 1s. I think some 1.5s. Jacksonville laying on the road. Houston definitely in a teaser, I think, with that low total would be a way to go. But I kind of lean Houston here, actually.
Brady, go ahead.
I'm with Wes. Great teaser leg that they're now the dog. Take it up to 7.5 or 8. Definitely don't take it to 7. Take it to the other side of 7 or 8, or even 8.5 if you can. I think Davis Mills is a very good backup. You remember, he used to be a starter in this league before C.J. Stroud came along. I think it's a good bounce back spot for the Texans. A little bit of a fallen hero theory here with Stroud going out. The rest of the team rallies the troops, and we know Jacksonville's not great. Division game here. You're a home dog now in division. Texans maybe getting the point or whatever. Definitely on a teaser as well.
Wes, I want to go to you at the Giants going to the cardiac Chicago Bears, and they are favored by 3.5. Totals at 47.5. How legit are the Bears?
I don't know. And I kind of would be fading them this week. The market is not, though, by the way. This is now up to 4.5. But with the Bears, here's what I worry about with these guys. The turnover regression. Over the last 6 weeks, if you combine the last 6 games for the Bears versus their opponents, Chicago is plus 18 in turnover margin over just 6 weeks. That's unsustainable. They got plus 3 last week against Cincinnati, and they had to hang on for dear life and win it at the end when the Bengals, the worst defense in the league, of course, they missed that tackle, Colston Loveland right over the middle. Caleb Williams finally figured out, hey, throw to this guy. He's pretty good. And they got him over the middle, and Bengals missed the tackle, and they lose at the end. -3 in the turnover margin, 47-42. I don't know how good the Bears are. I think they got some weapons offensively with Loveland, especially emerging at tight end. I don't like this defense unless they can get turnovers, which they've been doing over the last 6 weeks. Like I mentioned, plus 18. But I'd be on the Giants here, plus 4.5. And the Giants, you kind of got to hold your nose with these guys, too, because they don't have any receivers at all. Like Jackson Dart has no help without Neighbors down the field. So they got to throw little dink and dump, short passes to the running backs and the tight ends. But I think Jackson Dart's got a little moxie. I've been impressed with what I've seen of him. He does not look like he's not ready to be an NFL quarterback. Like, I think he's met the moment. He just doesn't have a lot of support.
Jim, let me ask you this. Will you be betting team total Bears over?
No,
No,
not over.
not over.
Not.
They put up points.
They do, and they have done very well, especially on scripted plays early in the game. And they've gone over most of the time on their team total. But this is different, and it is going to be raining in Chicago, so that matters. Speaking of Jackson Dart, I like him. I think he does have that moxie you talk about, that spirit. I kind of like him. I think he's a keeper. But as Wes said, you got to be able to throw it to somebody. There has to be somebody out there. And of course, they're going to call some of the guys in this room to go play wide receiver soon because they're lacking. But no, I'm going to probably stay away from this unless I could probably look at the under. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points. I don't see where the points are going to come from.
Brady, I want to go to you and move on to another game. I think most people are probably going to fade. Maybe I'm wrong. Buffalo at Miami. The line's up to 9.5. Total's up to 50. Are you on this game at all? Or is that too many points?
I might be. I might be. By the way, real quick note on that Giants-Bears game. I made it 3.5, and over the summer it was 5.5. So haven't the Bears exceeded expectations so far? Yeah. Aren't they doing better than we thought? So why is this number? Yeah. Why was this number higher during the summer? So I find that a little bit interesting. I'd be with Wes on the Giants, especially at 4.5. I don't know. The Bears are a tough team to figure out, but it seems like they're kind of punching above their head right now.
Maybe it's one of those things where you take a team that's kind of down and out most of the time. People think of them being a down team, and they can make them a big favorite or a favorite. Really. Yeah, it's one of those switches, like the Panthers.
Yep.
Kind of thing like that.
As far as the Bills and the Dolphins, I made it 8. It doesn't feel like the Panthers is a weird situation where they're all of a sudden a big favorite. But let's be honest, the Bills are in that situation where a home dog won outright and now they're a road favorite. That usually doesn't fare too well for that team that gets, sent into that role. Now it is the Bills and it is the Dolphins. I get that, but I think the last time it was 31-21. It was, and the Bills did not cover. I think that line got all the way to 10.5 or 11 or maybe even 12. I would probably play the Dolphins again, and this is probably a case. Wes likes to reference this type of thing. Could the stock be much higher on the Bills right now after beating the Chiefs as a home underdog? Could the stock be any lower on the Dolphins right now after being absolutely decimated by the Ravens? By the way, they come in with extra rest, too. I'd probably be on the dog here. I might actually make a play on this one. I haven't yet. I haven't made any plays yet this week, but this is one I've been thinking about.
BJ knows how I think. It's almost like we work together. Yeah, because we can now finish each other's sentences.
That's exactly where you're at?
Yeah, exactly. I like the Dolphins here, too, and it's kind of a hold your nose, and you don't feel really good about it, but sometimes that's what you do. You got to do as a bettor. You got to make bets. It's like, oh, I hate him, but I know it's the right principled bet to make and the right handicap. Because what did we see with the Dolphins last time on Thursday Night Football against Baltimore? They had 7 points. They looked awful. And it's like, is this coach going to get fired? They, by the way, did trade Jalen Phillips to Philadelphia. One of the pass rushers, Chubb, did not get moved, surprisingly enough. So Miami, yeah, they're a DOA team. But now you've got the Bills who just beat their rival. And the Bills-Chiefs series kind of reminds me as a Colts fan of the Colts-Patriots, where the Colts would kind of get these guys in the regular season, could never get them in the postseason until finally they got them in that AFC Championship game where they came from way down. So that's what the Bills are going to have to deal with. But they just beat Kansas City last week. Now they go to Miami, a team they've already beat. It's 9.5.
No, we're behind. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's 9.5. So it's out of teaser protection mode right now. So you can't tease it through the 3. So give me Miami. Very sheepishly, but I'll take Miami.
Yeah, if we have time, we'll get to some questions. But we still got some games to cover. We're running out of time. So, Jim, I want to get to the next game with Baltimore going into Minnesota. Harbaugh stated before the bye week that he thought this team would get to the playoffs. They're now favored by 4. The total's 49.5 going into Minnesota. Is this a bad spot for Baltimore?
It's a bad spot for me because I can't figure out J.J. McCarthy. I mean, everybody likes him. He threw for 143 yards last week, and they dominated the Lions. But that's because Minnesota has a good team, and they still have a good team. They're going to have a good team in this game. But this is I guess it's a home dog spot because they're in a battle in that division. That's probably the direction I would go with the home dog plus the points.
Brady?
I like the favorite. Favorites on extra rest. I think the Ravens are going to catch their stride here. I think they have a really good chance to win that division. I don't think Minnesota's that good. We know that they can put up a defensive effort now and then for sure. Brian Flores is no joke. But I think last week was a little bit of an aberration. You get up for a division game, you beat the Lions. Now it's back to reality. The Vikings just aren't that good. Give me the Ravens here. I made it 4, and I would lay the 3.5 or higher.
Baltimore's getting healthy now. I talked about how the Chargers are kind of maybe the sell team in the AFC. I think Baltimore's the buy team right now, and that's why Pittsburgh needed that so bad last week because Baltimore's coming and they're as healthy as they've been. I'd be on the road favorite too.
Wes, I want to stay with you. New England going into Tampa Bay. Bucs are favored by 2.5. Totals up to 48.5. Tampa's trying to get healthy. I don't know if they'll ever get fully healthy by the end of the season, but is this a good spot for Tampa to come home after a bye week?
I don't know, Tommy, because I feel like both of these two teams, they have very good records, and they're not bad teams, but I think that they've gotten maybe more breaks than they haven't this year. The Bucs, certainly not from an injury standpoint. They've been banged up all year. You've got Godwin questionable. They've been banged up on the line. Bucky Irving's been out. We know Evans is out with that collarbone. So Tampa Bay has been so banged up all year, but somehow, some way, Baker Mayfield, when you count him out, he somehow pulls it out at the end, much to my chagrin, on a couple bets this year going against this team. So Tampa's kind of been a thorn in my side. We always have that one team that's like a thorn in our side that you go against. It's like, I never beat these guys. And I feel like that's Tampa for me. So I'm a little bit reluctant to do it again here. So this is a pass right now. I gotta see some more out of these teams before I really draw a conclusion, even though they've gotten off to good starts.
Jim? I know you're a big Baker fan.
I am a big Baker fan, and he's played with, injured team. Injuries everywhere. It started with the offensive line. There was 1 week early. You got 3 offensive linemen out. Evans is gone for the season. They got people out now in addition to that, and they had the bye. So Irving still didn't practice. He didn't practice today, which is kind of amazing because they did have the week off. But Baker, this is a home situation. Should they be favored in this game? Because, Drake May has been playing out of sight. As second-year quarterback, he's probably the best of the second-year quarterbacks. He's been playing out of sight. But you look at what happened last week, and Atlanta just almost came back and almost beat him. So I kind of like a money line play on Tampa here.
Brady, what's your thoughts? Is this a teaser game?
Wes talked about the Buccaneers kind of being that team. The Patriots are kind of that team for me. They're a good team. Are they a great team? They continue to cover. They can't run the ball. They can definitely stop the run. And this would be a game where I'd really have to dive into the injury report because we know the Buccaneers are really banged up. I made the number 2. It's 2.5, so there's not a big difference there. This is probably a stay away from me.
Brady, I'll stay with you, and we'll finish here with Jim with this last game with the Rams going into San Francisco. The Rams are favored 4.5. Total's 49.5. What do you have this game at?
I made it Rams 4. but I would probably take the Niners here just for the simple fact that Kyle Shanahan has really owned Sean McVay, which seems odd. They're both very good coaches. Some would argue McVay's better. But Shanahan has absolutely had his number. And I think the general public is going to lean on, and you had a lot of people that got knocked out of Survivor a few weeks ago that were on the Rams. And those people are going to be ticked off. They're going to run to the window, and the Rams are coming out for blood and getting revenge and yada, yada. And you know what? Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, doesn't matter. The Niners will stay within the number.
Wes?
Yeah, same here. Remember the Niners, of course, did beat them on Thursday Night Football, and it's still you still don't know what the Niners, and it's like how long can they defy the odds here with the injury bug? The fact that they're 6-3, I think, is a testament to Shanahan and his group because they are all kind of banged up. We don't know if it's going to be Purdy. Mac Jones, I think, has been fine in the role, but defensively, the 49ers, because they're so banged up without Bosa and Warner, they can't get any pressure on the quarterback. So you can move the ball on these guys. So if anything, I'd be looking over in this game.
What about you, Jim?
I think I'll go with West on this spot.
Okay.
Because I agree with that. The pressure, I saw that happen in the Houston game when they were down in Houston. They couldn't get the Stroud at all. And they just dominated. And not that Houston can score a lot of points. They didn't in that game, but that's different here. I like the over.
Ray, what was your question? I got some time to sneak a couple in. What do you got?
Well, Bucky Irving's out. I had a couple of Bucky Irving's out. Does that impact anything? You guys kind of danced on that. And one's for West because we never see him. I mean, for the Big Ten championship, what do you think that line should be? Indiana, Ohio State, little preview. Make me feel good for the rest of the day. What do you think that's right?
I'd make it Buckeyes 4. And look, I'm obviously partisan with my alma mater. But look, and I think they've played as well Indiana as anybody in the country. Now, would I make them a favorite over Ohio State? Of course not. I'd make Ohio State favorite over anybody on a neutral. 4. Yeah, 3.5, 4, I think is fair in Indianapolis. Hopefully I'll be at that game in a few weeks.
Scott Pritchard.
Quick comment, quick question. First of all, 5-star, rock star, superstar panel. Once again, love you guys. Great content. Comment, I'm high on the Los Angeles Rams, and I want to know if you agree or disagree. I feel, based on the fact that they have everyone healthy and hungry with a chip on their shoulder, Nakua is back, ready to go. Adams, stud, Williams, over 100 yards rushing last week, and maybe candidate in quarterback and Stafford. The fact is, this team is an eyelash away from being unbeaten. They lost a fluke game against the Eagles on the last play after dominating up 26-8 late. Block kick, run back 75 yards for a touchdown. The only other loss was the Niner game. It's payback this weekend, believe me. My question is, and here's what no one's talking about. Defensively, this team has given up, in the last 3 games, 20 points. Do you agree with me or disagree? The Rams are the best team in the NFC.
Are the Rams the best team in the NFL?
I think you probably
Oh, NFC.
NFC next to the Eagles.
I'm with you, Scott.
I am too.
I think the Rams are really good, and you make a great point. Their defense is really good. That sometimes gets overlooked. This guy Verse, that was a rookie last year, he's something special. They just can't figure out the Niner puzzle. But I'm with you. The Rams are really good.
Any other questions? Got room for one more. No other questions. All right, hang on to your tickets. We want to thank J-Lore for donating 3 bottles of wine. We're going to give that away next week. Joining us, Wes Reynolds is coming back, and Ken Thompson will be here. Let's give a round of applause to Brady Kannon, Wes Reynolds, and the GOAT, Jim Feist. My name is Tommy Canale. Good luck on your bets, everybody. And vote for Dom DeMarco's for pizza to win the Neon Award. We'll see you next week, everybody.